Welcome, guys and gals. This is your host, Frog Prince Rana, and thank you for dropping by. This video is a response to a Christian channel, Trinity Radio, where a very polite gentleman has 10 questions for all atheists. Now, I am an agnostic, but his questions applies to me as well. He has some new talking points. Should be fun overall and less stressful compared to some others. Let's jump in, shall we?
What facts about reality that you and I agree are real facts about the way the world is does your worldview account for, but my Christianity doesn't account for, or at least doesn't account for well? And for those of you that would point out atheism isn't a worldview, I'm talking about your worldview that includes atheism.
Well, Trinity Radio, to begin with, I don't see any correlation between atheism and worldview. So after agreeing with that, when you ask me for my worldview that includes atheism, well, that is a very good trick. As long as we understand that your assertion is incorrect, and my worldview has nothing to do with atheism, which is simply either not believing in a divine being or not believing nor disbelieving in a divine being. These are not related.
But I can think of many things that the most common worldviews that include atheism don't answer as well as I think Christianity does. Like universal supernatural claims, universal religious experiences, free will, morality, near-death experiences, beauty, the rapid expansion of the early church, the events surrounding the life and death of Jesus of Nazareth, and our shared longing for purpose and meaning.
Now, what did you put into that worldview box? You mentioned universal supernatural claim, universal religious experiences, near-death experiences. This is the point maybe you should have defined what you mean by worldview. This is an all-encompassing loaded phrase, isn't it? According to Wikipedia, a worldview is the fundamental cognitive orientation of an individual or society, encompassing the whole of individuals or society's knowledge and point of view. A worldview can include natural philosophy, fundamental, existential, and normative postulates, or themes, values, emotions, and ethics. Did they miss anything else? Then again, in context of philosophy, you have 4: post-positivism, constructivism, advocacy/participatory, and pragmatism. In context of religion, major 7 are theism, atheism, pantheism, panentheism, deism, finite godism, and polytheism. I give up, fine. Those are all worldview in some category. Now, obviously, I cannot speak for all atheists or agnostic, but I can speak for myself. So what are my views on those 3 points? And these are all answered from science and logic. Well, supernatural claims. Either those making the claims are charlatan or mentally ill. Religious experiences, well, charlatan, mentally ill, or really experiencing something. Lucky them. Normally people have to take LSD to see pink elephants. Now that experience with pink elephant is real, but at the same time, those pink elephants are not. Then you also mentioned rapid expansion of the early church, events surrounding the life and death of Jesus of Nazareth. Well, newsflash, I appreciate those are super important to you and other Christians. In 2015, according to Pew Research, 31% of Earth's population were Christian. It is a large number, but it also means 69% doesn't care about those 2 points either. And Jesus? Well, maybe you want to find some actual evidence of him existing as well. By the way, does your book mentions expansion of Hinduism? If not, then your book is incomplete. We do have a field that talks about history, Then you mentioned free will. This is something you religious people need to get out of your own mess. If God is omnipotent or omniscient, then there is no reason for our existence or what we do. He already knows what each of us will do, because He knows all and had everything in motion when He planted the apple tree. In legal system, a term is used, the but-for test, to show that if one action had not been taken, then something else would not have happened as a result. Anyway, to explain why we should be praying and paying, church, mosque, whatever, or invading another tribe/country, not because of the resources, but for the belief in a different sky daddy. Well, thus comes in free will. So we can choose to do what we want, and it is not predestined. Well, I don't believe in sky daddy, so no need to worry about free will. I do understand that we make our own decision. At times, we may not have the mental capacity to make the right decision. That's all. Next, beauty. Really? You're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Morality. Of course, I should have seen this coming. Well, I don't expect you to watch my other videos where I talked why morality has nothing to do with atheism. So I will summarize. Every time religious people raises this argument, the first thing that goes through my mind is, I'm scared of you. You guys need an ancient book to tell you what is good and what is bad. Who knows what the book says about people like me? Maybe crucified, maybe stoned to death. Some other people? Well, we do not need a sky daddy to know good from bad. Most of us wouldn't go around harming people. Well, because we think it is a bad thing. But it is just not our feeling. We have society and laws in place that would punish us if we did those bad things. The advantage of laws in society is that we can change it over time. Maybe one day weed would be legal all over the world. Hey, one can hope. Whereas your morality comes from a book with story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and that is the book you want to base your morality from. Trust me, I can give you a bunch more examples. I just find that one especially disturbing. Purpose and meaning. Well, I exist. One day I will cease to exist. Game over. No redo, no reload checkpoint. That is it. I can't recall who said it, but the translation is, leave a mark on the wall before you live. Another would be from Terry Pratchett. Names of those passed away is traveling back and forth over the wire, and as long their name is spoken, they are not forgotten. Not all of us can achieve that pinnacle of life, but we should all try our best. And what is wrong with that?
If your definition of atheism is merely that it's a lack of belief in God and you're just waiting to be convinced, but then you speak of him as though he's in some way synonymous with Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, or fairies, doesn't that at least send the message to your listeners that you actually believe that there is no God?
I can try to explain that part. This is called burden of proof. If I say there is no God, it becomes my responsibility to prove such comment. Whereas, when I compare your God to Santa Claus, I do it based on your definition of your God, where the burden of proof was on you, and you have not been able to prove anything. Trinity. Do you believe in Zeus or Krishna? Of course not. You dismiss those. Now, is that because there is no proof? Or is it by virtue that your religion is correct, also without any proof, and thus theirs cannot be real? Abrahamic story of Adam and Eve. Well, it doesn't fly anymore. Our understanding of evolution has put a stop to that. So based on your story of your God, I can dismiss it as false. But mind it, it is based on your data. So I stand correct. I do not believe nor disbelieve in a divine being. But I do not believe the stories presented by religions, as we can prove parts of it to be wrong, which then puts the whole book into question. So I do not believe in your God. I hope that makes sense.
When atheism becomes a part of someone's worldview, they typically change their positions on other issues like abortion, sexual morality, and a number of other things. I actually have several videos of well-known atheists saying that there's nothing wrong with prostitution. But even if you didn't become an atheist just so you could sin, and I believe you, do you at least understand why those moves could send that message to people who might say that to you?
Seriously? Well, personally, I wouldn't care. Because people can have their own opinion. Suppose I'm Hindu, thus I can't eat beef. One day I realized the obvious fact that there is no God. This shackle I have been wearing, well, I can throw it away and chow down some yummy burgers. Now, some people might think I changed my religion to eat meat. Okay, and so what? From your statement, I realize you think abortion, homosexuality, prostitution are evil. You also mentioned that some atheists say sex workers should be put up on a pedestal, no different than the military. Without any religious dogma, it is very simple to come to such conclusions like, what you do is your business. If you want to spread peanut butter all over your body and hold a private show, I don't care. As long your freedom does not infringe on someone else's freedom. We all sell some kind of service to provide for a roof above our head, for food to survive, for clothes to wear. Some sell their mind, some sell their body. What is the big deal? Same with homosexuality. What does that have to do with me? Personally, I would put them on a pedestal higher than those who tries to indoctrinate people to a sky daddy.
If it's a lack of belief sort of atheism, what is it? Is it 50-50, 60-40, 75-25? And at what point do you feel disingenuous saying that you merely lack a belief as opposed to leaning towards, I believe that God does not exist?
So on this scale you mentioned, we have agnostic at one end, the atheist on the other end. An atheist do not believe in a God, while an agnostic neither believes nor disbelieves. Thus, it would be 50 on a linear scale.
But I want you to struggle to be as sincere with yourself as you can right now. Doesn't it bother you a little bit that when we come to talk about the origins of the universe, and if there's a multiverse, the origin of that too, that the only real options you've got besides God is a past infinite universe, which is impossible, or the universe coming to exist uncaused out of nothing, or something far less clear than even those? It seems that for any worldview that includes atheism, there's a massive blind spot when it comes to the origin of the universe. My question is simply this: when you step away from the debate mode that it's so easy for us all to get into online, doesn't this issue destabilize you a little bit? It seems to fit really poorly with any worldview that includes atheism.
Seriously, it does not bother me or destabilize me in even a tiny bit. Let's go back in time a little bit. Back to our cave-dwelling ancestors. They obviously knew a lot less about the universe than us. From recorded history, it was around 350 BC when Aristotle declared that the earth was a sphere. We figured out germ theory only in last century. You know what that means? It means we do not know everything, and we strive to find out more. If we left it with a holy book, we would really be dumbfounded with fossil records, evolution, DNA, and such. Thankfully, we didn't, and we learned enough to have all these amazing technologies around us. So, origin of universe? We start with various hypotheses, and those are the things you have mentioned. The answer simply is, we do not know yet. Talking about destabilization, I thought that would happen to you guys. If the watch means there is a watchmaker, then who made the watchmaker? And then that entity, how did it come into being? There is an amazing video by Dark Matter, which I will link in description, that would explain who made who.
Of the arguments for God's existence, is there one that to you seems more interesting than the rest? Is there one that for you actually does weigh in favor of theism? Which one?
You said interesting and then mention weigh in favor. Those are not exclusively mutual. You know that, right? But as for the question, honestly, I have nothing.
Most atheists I've met humbly admit that they don't think they can have absolute certainty about much of anything. But what they want from the Christian is a demonstration that God exists or that Christianity is true. Well, when we offer the reasons to believe that we do have, those are typically deemed not good enough. So what sort of evidence, if any, would be enough to convince you? Do you know? And since it's often a conversation stopper, let's take experimental reproducibility off the table, since that's not even always necessary for science.
Wait, what? Okay, I will just assume this is due to your lack of understanding about science. Reproducibility is a fundamental pillar of science. We call it peer review. If we cannot reproduce your result, then you have missed or omitted something or fudged your data. So now you understand what science needs. Let's move on to other statements. I have never met you, and I will humbly admit that I have absolute certainty about a great many things. If I drop something, it will fall to ground. The force that causes it is called gravity. We know how strong that force is. I'm absolute certain. I'm certain that I will drown in water if not rescued. I'm certain that my computer will turn off if I unplug it. However, I'm not certain if there is any divine being or not. Again, because that would be proving a negative. We want a demonstration from any religion claiming a God. So stop feeling sorry for yourself. You are not the prosecuted lot. Now, extraordinary claim requires extraordinary proof. So what did you claim your God to be? Let me see. Omnipotent or all-powerful? Omnipresence or everywhere? Omnibenevolence or all-loving? Or omniscience or all-knowing? Well, if he is omniscience, then he knows exactly what it would need to convince me. And that is the very first evidence I need. So I may have 10 things in mind, and the first one being, tell me what are the evidence I'm looking for. Damn, I'm good.
To what extent did social and moral issues start you down the path toward your atheism? That is to say, the typical Christian or religious views on sexuality, gender, rights, and acts and commands of God in the Old Testament.
Well, this question is completely geared toward ex-Christians and now atheists. For me, well, my dad was non-practicing and mom is semi-practicing Muslim. I mean, they believe in Allah, but don't or didn't pray 5 times a day. I became agnostic after acquiring understanding of evolution, dinosaurs, among others. Abrahamic God, Adam and Eve, is immediately ruined when you know that we share a common ancestor with a chimpanzee. So the answer is, social and moral issue had nothing to do with it.
Can you name the last 3 academic books you read by theists on the subject? How long ago did you read them? Or is most of your understanding of apologetics and atheism from non-scholarly internet sources, pop-level books, and, let's face it, YouTube videos? And be honest with yourself about this. Anyone can Google up a list of books and paste them in the comments section. But I want to know, are you getting the best from the other side?
Okay, first one is God delusion. Oh wait, you said by theist. Basically you mean who is trying to push their own religion. Okay. So I can't use this, or this, or this. Wait, I can use this. Darwin was a theist at one point in life. So there you go, origin of species. Oh, you don't like that, do you? Okay, next. Scientific indications in the Holy Quran. Oh, wrong religion than the one you're looking for. My bad. How about this one? The Bible Code. Are you happy now? How about this? Darwinism refuted. Don't get excited, I'm an ass. This is from a Muslim theist. Gotcha. But I also read these ones. I seem to have misplaced my Quran and Mormon Bible. I did want those for this shot. It's Bible at the very right, just for you. Now, what does this prove? Nothing. If a religion is proven to be real, then I would at least believe it, but not necessarily follow it. That is a different ballgame. Once again, burden of proof is on your court. Why are you suggesting people to read a book by theists where they would cherry pick or misrepresent the facts? There is no best from the other side. A fantasy is based on taste. If I want to read fiction, I'm very happy with all the gods in Discworld. They make a lot more sense. Oh, there you go. Those gods in Discworld plays with human lives. And when a god has no follower, that god ceases to exist or dies. The more followers a god has, the more powerful he or she becomes. And they all are anthropomorphic figure because we give them their attributes. Fine, I can deal with that fantasy worldview. Super interesting, but not approved for all those gods.
Let's finish with a pretty common one. If you found out today to your satisfaction that Christianity were true, would you accept God's authority, repent of your sins, and trust Jesus as your King?
Yes, no, and no. Yes to a Christian God if he is proven true to my satisfaction. At the same time, if this is the same God depicted in your book to be a jealous, petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynist, homophobic racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully, then no. I will not repent for what he considers as a sin. And same goes for his son. Thank you, Richard Dawkins, for putting it so eloquently. A super long video, I will finish it with another quote from Dawkins. There is something infantile in the presumption that somebody else has a responsibility to give your life meaning and point. The truly adult view, by contrast, is that our life is as meaningful, as full and as wonderful as we choose to make it. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, well, you know what to do. Like, comment, and maybe even share it around. If you can also subscribe, that would definitely help me bring more contents to you. Thanks once again. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.
Try.